I am not speaking for Angel Reese, and I'm not putting my head on a chopping block because I don't know her personally. I don't think Angel Reese is trying to be a 304 as people are trying to make her out to seem. And of course in this video, like, I don't know Angel Reese, so I'm not here to like defend anyone, especially because I don't know what she does on her personal time. But just based off of me observing everything, and I'll be completely honest, I only really started to know of her because of just, you know, her achievements, but also just the controversy and stuff online with, I guess, people talking about her attitude, and now of course the topic of discussion, just her choice of dress attire. So I really just want to get into this topic because I feel like this is a much deeper topic than just Angel Reese herself, but of course she's a great example for me to use because it's something that I also could relate to some extent, but I caught myself in the process, and I feel like a lot of young women especially can also relate to what I'm about to say. So I feel like this is definitely a much needed conversation. So I'm basically just going to give my perspective on how I'm perceiving just this entire situation, of course without projecting onto her, because like I said, I don't know what she does on her free time. I don't really know what her intention is, but from my perspective, I just feel like she is struggling on how to show up as a young, tall, athletic woman who is entering womanhood while she is a part of an industry that promotes a certain type of lifestyle, but also has a certain type of image that she may feel like that's the image that she needs to take on. And I'm gonna get into it. And I think it's also fair to acknowledge that she is only 22 years old. And I'm not gonna lie, I just found out her age. I thought she was like 25, 26, just based off of her visual appearance. But she's literally only 22. And it's not to say that I'm taking any accountability away from her, like she doesn't know what she's doing. But I'm gonna just share my perspective, and I feel like y'all are gonna understand what I'm getting at. I feel like a lot of young women are struggling with just the current times that we're in, especially with social media being our main source of influence. And we see like influencers who aren't really the best role models, but because it's what we're commonly seeing, because the girls are seeing that that's what appears to be working online, that is what they feel like they need to follow. And it's also really important to acknowledge that there aren't any spaces like catered to specific age groups anymore like there once was back in the day. You know, there were things that entertained kids, and there were things for teens, and there were things for adults, but now we're in that time period where, again, influencers, social media is our main source of entertainment, but it's also our main source of influence. And if you're a young girl who doesn't really have that discernment of like what you should follow, what you shouldn't follow, because you don't have experience, you only see what appears to be working online, but you don't really have the understanding of what's going on behind the scenes, or how maybe the outside world are perceiving these people. But because you see that the girls are living a certain type of lifestyle, they're getting, you know, the men, and they're getting the jewelry and all of that, like as a young girl you might feel like, okay, this is what I have to do in order to receive this type of lifestyle, especially since she is already within the industry. She's already in a space where she's surrounded by these people. She has that status. So she might feel like that's the certain aesthetic that she needs to take on without, again, really understanding what that looks like on the outside. And I feel like a lot of people in society struggle with understanding that how you present yourself will determine how people will treat you. And that is just the reality of it. Like, you can't put out a certain type of image, or you can't show up in a certain way and then expect a certain type of result that is counter to what you're showing people. And that is one of the main things that I want to talk about in this video, because a lot of girls don't really understand that when you show up a certain way, when you dress a certain way, and the way that you carry yourself shows to people how you respect yourself and how you care for yourself, and just also it determines how people will respect you and how they're going to treat you. And that is just the reality of the world.
As a high value woman, you need to dress how you want to be addressed. You cannot be exposing your body on social media just for like, and then get mad at the men that you attract that just want to lay down with you. Honestly, you can't even blame them, because that's the image you're giving. Being exclusive equals value.
Let's be very, very clear. The point that I was making was you don't have to be half naked in order to be considered a baddie. A baddie knows how to dress for the occasion. Yeah. Some of you are wearing poster girl outfits to dinners and brunch.
Like, I understand people want to say things like, oh, I should be able to dress how I want to dress and it shouldn't matter and people should still respect me. But it's like, you carry yourself a certain way, people are going to form a perception of you, and based off of that perception, that is how they're going to treat you. So if you show up in a certain way where you dress like you don't respect yourself, or you're looking for all this male attention and you just have your body out, people are going to perceive you as a person who doesn't have that self-respect, or they're gonna label you the whole 304. Like, there are literally men online criticizing her for how she's showing up. And I just recently saw a video of Charleston White, I think that's his name. He was basically saying like she wants to sell like cats, she don't want to play ball. It's like, first of all, that is just disrespectful for him to say, along with just other comments that he made that I feel like he shouldn't have made. So I'm not making any excuses for comments that he's made along with so many other people, but it goes to show that the way that she's choosing to dress is determining how people are viewing her. Like, the respect level she had for basketball, she got people's respect for that, but it's like now based off of how she's choosing to dress, people are now not respecting her because of that reason. And that's the reality that I feel like a lot of women need to understand. Like, you can't decide to dress half naked but then still have this expectation of people to respect you. And don't get me wrong, like, people should still respect you, and you could be a person where you're not out here sleeping around, you're not out here giving guys attention and things like that, but just based off of how you dress, if people don't know you, they're going to see you as a person who does those things just for that reason. And I understand that in the perfect world, you will want to be able to do what you want. You want to dress how you want to, and you feel like people should still give you the respect that you deserve. And granted, I understand that. But if you want to be treated a certain type of way, if you want to be respected, you yourself have to show up in a way that looks like you have self-respect. But it's not even just about looking. The conversation is so much more deeper than looking like you have self-respect. I feel like it's important to have that self-respect. You don't have to show your body in order to be desirable, or in order to, you know, like, look good or consider yourself to be appealing to people. You can still dress a certain type of way and still give sexy. You don't have to dress provocatively and, you know, like, dress raunchy. You don't have to show off your body in order to look desirable, because it does cheapen your look.
I got a question, and I'm really not trying to be funny, shady, nothing, but I really want to know, why are we walking around with our butts out? Like, why is that what things have come to? I went to a Lil Baby concert last night, and I swear I can identify half the city by their bare butt. And I'm not a judgmental person, like, wear what you want to wear 100%. But after so many butt cheeks, like, I could only help but question, like, what is this? Why are we doing that? Cause, like, I ain't gonna lie, y'all, like, for real, like for real, girl to girl, it don't give what y'all think it's giving. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not even like cute. Like, it's not even like, oh yeah, she got that shit on. No. Then I feel like everybody look the same. Like, everybody dressing the same right now. And I get it, the trends are hot, but that cheetah print skirt, retire that, please. Cause y'all are all dressing it the same exact way. And again, wear what you want to wear, but it's like, I don't know. I just want to see better. Visually, I think that it's a decline. We need to go back up.
Booty out, breasts out, everything all out. Where has our pride gone? As a people, when we show up to a place, we just knew we was going to shut the place down. And our women had clothes on and they were looking good. Now, a lot of times people could say that, oh, the times have changed and different things like that. But that doesn't mean just because everybody else dressing like a hoe, you're going to dress like a hoe too. Come on. What your mom used to say? Well, if everybody else jump off the bridge, you jumping off the bridge too? I guess everybody jumping. Everybody jumping, obviously. Because when we say things like, oh, you are, you know, you should cover up, girls, you should cover up, ladies, you should have some more class about yourself, you should have just more, you know, just a little more femininity about yourself. You say that, oh, we're being pick-me's, oh, we are hating. And the thing is, we're not hating. I love you. I see you, and when I see my sisters, I see a woman that should be cherished, a woman that should be, I mean, have the best of the best. But yet we continue to allow ourselves to get the worst of the worst. And we talk about the way people disrespect us. We have to have self-love within ourselves.
I know we heard it before, but ladies, how you stand out from other women, especially today's women, is to not be so overly sexual. I feel like a lot of women think, oh, well, to feel sexy or to be a grown ass woman, you have to show off your body. Now, I would be a hypocrite because you can look on my Instagram and see that I might pose in certain fitted dresses, or when I went to DR recently, I was in a bikini or whatever. But that's for certain settings. I don't really have that many pictures where I'm just boom, 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 boom every time you click on my story. How to really also stand out is, and what's really the best compliments is when people be like, oh, I didn't know you were shaped like that. Like, okay, I see you. Versus you post it all the time. It's like, okay, you, of course you're going to get your likes, and that's what you're really fiending for, because when you're overly doing it, you can't keep saying, oh, I'm doing it for me. No, you're doing it because you want somebody to look at you and you want somebody to hit you in the DM. And you may not like this, but I don't give a damn. Your favorite influencer or female rapper can do that because that's what they're paid to do. But you, on the other hand, nobody's checking for you. And no hater shit, but they can sit here and live their life and go on about their business. But you, on the other hand, that may be working at a regular square job, can't do that, because people are going to look at you like, okay, what you sell?
That is what the girls are getting off of social media because of the influencers. But it's like, y'all need to learn to separate reality from social media, because social media is not a real place. Those girls, I'm not gonna lie, yeah, you could be getting a lot of attention, but it's just like, are you being respected? That is the part that I feel like a lot of people don't consider. And I feel like that respect comes from self. I personally feel like if you have that self-awareness and you have that self-respect, you're not gonna want to just show your body just for some likes, or just for, you know, like just for attention. I feel like if you genuinely have that self-respect, you don't even want that type of attention, because you know that it doesn't come with respect. So that's basically like just the whole thing that I'm trying to get at. And the reason why I feel like the situation is not what people are making it out to be is because I am 5'10" and I did grow up athletic, and I understand the struggle that it was for me to transition from that phase of my life into just my womanhood, being that I'm about to be 26. So growing up, I've always been the tallest girl, just as long as I can remember, honestly, even from like kindergarten, pre-K, like I've always been the tallest. So I always felt like I was, I don't want to say like masculinized, but it's like you already don't feel as like dainty, I guess, like the other girls. So that was like one thing, right? And being that I reached the height of 5'10" literally by the 7th grade, I remember just like that time period in my life and how much I struggled being a tall girl, also being curvy. So during grade school, I had to wear uniform, and I remember I used to always hate wearing pants because I could never find pants that weren't high water on me. So I loved wearing skirts, but I also remember anytime I wore skirts, I was always getting pulled to the side by teachers about how my skirt was short. I was always just people telling me like, oh, your skirt is so short. I would always feel just uncomfortable walking upstairs because I'm like, oh, somebody's gonna be looking at my skirt, even though I always had shorts on. And it's not like my skirt was like showing any part of my body. I just have long legs. Like I'm 5'10", and I always make a joke that I'm literally 70% legs. So anything that I may have on that another girl would have on that's not my height, and we're literally wearing the same clothing piece, it looks tiny on me, but on her it may look normal. And I remember during that time period, I was just so confused, and I would always feel like the adults were picking on me because I'm like, I'm wearing the same skirt that this girl has on, that all these girls have on, yet I'm the one that's always being pulled aside. But I didn't understand that, okay, being that I'm 70% legs, it's going to look shorter on me because they see a lot more legs than they do on the other girls. And it's not even like my skirt was so short, like my butt was hanging out or something. My skirt literally stopped halfway of my thighs, but that still looks short to adults because the rest of my legs were long. So I remember just feeling like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable wearing skirts anymore because of that reason. So I would put pants on just to avoid being what it felt like picked on at the time. So because I was always getting pulled aside, being told that my skirt was short and that I needed to get a longer skirt, I just got annoyed and I just honestly stopped wearing skirts, which pulled me away from, I feel like, feeling feminine, because I wanted to wear a skirt. I didn't want to wear pants. You get what I'm saying? But also another reason I stopped wearing skirts was because I felt like grown men were just disgusting in my opinion. But when I was younger, I feel like grown men would hit on me and that made me feel really uncomfortable. I feel like I got hit on more by grown men when I was a young girl than I do in my adulthood. And it's the weirdest thing. So because I was tall and I was also like slim, thick, curvy, I feel like a lot of adults would womanize me more than they would the other girls because they were shorter. I was criticized more just because of my height. So that also pushed me more into wearing pants, where I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, like I steered away from my femininity because I felt like, you know what, it doesn't feel safe, especially as a young girl. Like you don't really understand all of that. So I started to really just wear pants, and I would wear sneakers, you know, high tops, just to kind of mask the high waterness of my pants. So it made me look more masculine on top of me already being interested in sports. Like I've played ball, I've played soccer, I've played football, you know, tennis. Like I've done a lot of sports. But because of my height, if I was dressed more feminine and people commented on my height, they would say, oh, you should model. But if I was dressing more of like on the masculine side, they would say things like, oh, you should play basketball. And because during that time period, I had steered away from just wearing skirts because I felt uncomfortable at that point, I was always getting, oh, you should play basketball, you should play basketball. So I got into basketball. But basketball just wasn't for me because I feel like it was just a lot more aggressive than how I just naturally am as a person. But because people had this idea of, oh, you have to play basketball, you're tall, I felt peer pressured into doing it. I'm like, well, everybody's telling me, so let me just do it. So once I got into sports and all of that, I wasn't really dressing feminine, you know, like I feel like I was more in uniform. I was more in just sweats and pants and sneakers. But also when it's time for games and stuff like that, they make you take off your jewelry. I couldn't really paint my nails the way I wanted to because they would chip, and I loved painting my nails. And my hairstyles, I couldn't really do too much with it because it's like, okay, I can put effort into it, but then it's gonna get messed up. So I always just kept it in ponytails and stuff like that. So during that time period of my life, I didn't really get to explore my femininity the way that I wanted to because of just me being in sports. And I promise I am getting somewhere with this story, so just follow along. I just gotta make sure I'm laying the story out so y'all understand what I think is going on in her situation. And also, when you're playing sports, it can consume a lot of your time. So you're going to a lot of practices, you got games, like it takes up so much of your time that like you don't really have time for other things. It's not to say like you can't make time, but for me personally, I feel like when you're in sports, it really does consume a lot of your time. And once I got to high school, I wasn't really in sports like that as much, and I feel like I was at a point where I was trying to find myself because I'm like, okay, now that I'm not in sports, I can do my nails, I can do my hair. And I was just really exploring myself and my femininity and just getting more comfortable in myself because like I said, I didn't really dress girly. And if I did, it would be like for parties or say like my birthday, I would take advantage of. But even then, most of my birthdays landed on school days, so I had on uniform, you know. But honestly, the only thing that I can really say that I enjoyed that made me feel girly was my hairstyles and my jewelry and my nails if I could, even though I was working at Starbucks, so I couldn't really do my nails at a certain point. But it's just like I was only able to really express myself with my femininity through my hair and my jewelry. And when it came to the way that I dressed, I was still uncomfortable within my body. And at that age of high school where you're like 16, 17, 18, that's usually the age where I feel like the girls are really just dressing up and, you know, like the girls are getting girly. But mind you, in high school, I was dressed between masculine and feminine. And during that time period, there was still a lot of teen stores available that girls would go shop at. So Forever 21, H&M, there was Charlotte Rouge necessary clothing. So there were definitely stores that young women could go and shop at that had appropriate clothing for, you know, like just their age range. But I remember my 21st or my 22nd birthday, and this was around the time like where social media and influencers were really like picking up and things like that. Because when I was in high school, it was like a thing, but like not really how it is like now. So for that birthday, which was like early college, Fashion Nova was popping during that time. Like that was when Fashion Nova had like first came out, and it was like really popular. That was like the go-to site. And I remember during that time on social media, Fashion Nova had these like lace bodysuits that were like trending. Basically, they were just lingeries that people were wearing as tops. And I remember when I was deciding my outfit for that birthday, in my mind, it's like, oh wow, like I'm not a little girl anymore. Like this is me entering womanhood, so let me really like spice it up a little bit. That's the mind of a young girl. So I was just like, you know what? I don't have to go to Forever 21. I don't have to go to like the stores that I want to go to. Let me try to make a statement, but not really for people. It was more so for me. Like, I'm entering womanhood. You get what I'm saying? I saw this lace neon green bodysuit, and I wore that with some jeans. I'm gonna like insert the picture, and I wore that, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely out of my comfort zone, but like, hello, like I'm turning this age, so let me put it on. Not that that's what I felt like I had to do, but based off of what I saw and just that pressure, you know, feeling like, oh, this is what it means to be a woman, you know, like to look sexy. I thought that's what I had to do. So I wore that. Of course, like I put pasties on to cover myself, and I wore jeans. So I always have this rule where if I'm showing top, I'm not going to show bottom. And if I'm showing bottom, then I'm going to cover the top just for balance, especially knowing that I'm a tall person. So I remember I wore that outfit, and I didn't really feel comfortable in it. Like I was kind of questioning, should I wear this lingerie bodysuit as a top? But the outfit did come together good, so I did it. And I remember I posted it on Instagram, and I just knew like after a while, like I just wasn't feeling confident about having that picture up. I'm like, damn, like the outfit looks good, but like the top is like, it's ringing a red flag to me. So I eventually ended up archiving the picture. So to me, it was like, I know the type of person I am. Like, can't nobody come out and say like, oh, I'm this type of person, or she's doing this, because it's like nobody can come and say that. So I confidently knew like, okay, I don't mean any harm by this picture. So if I post it, people know me, people know how I am, they know I don't get down like that. But I also had to acknowledge that, okay, there are people who don't know me, and they're going to be seeing the picture. What are they going to think of the picture? You get what I'm saying? So I had to really have that self-awareness to really understand, like, even though I know I'm not this type of person, this picture can still give off a certain type of vibe to people. And I had to be real with myself about that. So I ended up taking the picture down, because I'm like, if a person is gonna come across my page, like I don't want you to create a certain perception of me that is not true because of this picture. You get what I'm saying? And also during that time on Instagram, a lot of the girls, and this was during the pandemic, like a lot of the girls I noticed, because they saw influencers doing it, they were doing it. So the girls were like doing photo shoots for their birthdays in lingerie, like, and the girls that I was seeing would be as young as 19. But this goes to what I'm saying, because that's what they see the influencers doing. Social media, they're thinking that's normal, but that's where it comes in, where you got to separate social media from reality, because the influencers are doing it, and yeah, the pictures look good, I'm not gonna knock it, but if you, a regular person, you're posting that, you're going to attract a certain type of attention that you may not intend on doing. And there's girls that I knew that took pictures like that for their birthdays or for like holidays. And when they posted the pictures, I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked. I'm like, oh wow, like, you know, like this is real, like out there. But I also noticed that eventually a lot of the girls ended up taking those pictures down, because I can only imagine like what type of attention that's bringing into you. If you're posting pictures of yourself damn near naked on the gram, or I don't even want to say naked, but like if you're posting pictures of yourself in things that I feel like you will wear like in private, say like with your man or something like that, or just even something you will wear in the house, like you wouldn't walk outside in it, why do you feel comfortable posting a picture of it online? And that's something I also had to like really, you know, like you got to think about these things. Like, yeah, you're in your house, and yeah, you have a camera, and yeah, nobody's actually seeing you, but you posting that online is still you showing a little too much. Like, you're revealing too much to people. So basically what I'm trying to get at with Angel Reese is she is a young woman who has been in sports for God knows how long. And if her being in that position, again, being a tall girl, so oftentimes tall girls, we are masculinized. Like, oh, you're big and you're not like dainty like the other girls. And also her being athletic and playing basketball, that can also be something that masculinizes her. And then just imagine, like, you are in sports your entire youth and you finally reach an age where you realize, like, I'm not saying she realized she's an attractive person, but you're now coming into womanhood and you realize, like, you know, like, you look good, you're a pretty girl, your body looks good. You feel like, okay, now that I'm a woman, I don't want to just be seen as a ball player. I want to be seen as a woman as well. So I feel like because she had that image of being a ball player, it takes away from her femininity to where she's trying to reclaim it through the way that she is presenting herself now, because again, like, she's 22, so she's walking into womanhood. Honestly, I just feel like she's trying to find herself and find her femininity, but it's not coming off in the best way because of how she's doing it, which, like I said, I noticed I could have easily fell into that trap of what I see online with influencers and feeling like, oh, well, this is how the girls are showing up, this is what's trendy, this is, you know, like, the girls are dressing this way, so I probably need to dress that way. I almost fell into that trap, and then I had to check myself, like, okay, the way that they're showing up, it doesn't resonate with me. You get what I'm saying? Like, the type of attention that they're getting, I don't want that type of attention. But that took a level of self-awareness, but also awareness of society to really understand that I didn't have to play into that. So that's basically what I'm trying to get at. If Angel Reese doesn't have that self-awareness, but also people in her corner probably telling her, like, hey, you don't have to show up this way, you don't have to, you know, do too much, she probably doesn't know that. But because she's in the industry and she's considered an influencer and she's around the influencers and she's around certain people with status, like, she probably feels like this is the type of look that is what's working, so this is the look that I need to show up. So to be honest, I just feel like people need to extend a little grace to her. I don't think she's trying to come off in like a hoey way. I just feel like people need to talk to her about image and, you know, like, just how the world works and how people are going to perceive you, and that she doesn't need to show her body in order to show her value. She's already gotten her respect through sports, so I understand she wants to get that acknowledgement also just like within her womanhood, but it's like there's a certain way that it can be done. Like, she's already a naturally beautiful girl, she really doesn't have to do a lot. So I just feel like that's where all of this is coming from, that people are misinterpreting. But like I said, I don't know the girl, so I can't really like speak for her, but because I resonate with her in terms of being tall, once being athletic, and, you know, I understand what it's like to have to be in a certain type of attire or a certain type of look the entire time, that does really strip you from your femininity, if I'm being honest. Like, I feel like being in sports made me feel less feminine. So when I was transitioning into womanhood, it was a bit of a struggle for me, if I'm being completely honest. But I quickly realized the path that I didn't want to go down, especially because I noticed what comes with that. So I just think that's really what it is. And I just feel like people need to like chill with just like the criticism, because I've seen some crazy things. And she's also expressed how she doesn't want to be sexualized. But you have to understand that you may not want a certain type of treatment, but the way you show up also can affect the treatment that you get. And that's just the reality of the world that we live in. People are going to view it a certain way, and then they're going to treat you based off of that. If you're like dressing really provocatively, if you're showing your body and, you know, like, it appears like you're doing a lot for attention, people will view that you lack self-respect, and they'll tie your image to a certain type of image of women who do show up that way. So you have to just be really mindful of that. And to just wrap this up, I just want to emphasize to the young girls, especially just during this day and age where social media is like the norm, you don't have to follow influencers. Like everything that influencers does, like you have to really come to like a space where you're observing things from like a social media lens and a real life lens. Like women's fashion now, a lot of what I be seeing when I go to like concerts, when I tell you so many women will be having half their butt cheeks hanging out, I be so confused because I'm like, how do y'all feel comfortable? Like, how are you guys? First of all, like, y'all don't feel like yucky about having your butt cheeks touch the surface of a public, you know, seating or stuff like that. Like, I really be thinking about things like that. But it's just also like, people are dressing based off of how they see influencers dressing online, and you have to understand that when you're dressing that way, you could be the most self-respecting person, even though I kind of don't really believe that, because I feel like if you really genuinely respect yourself, all I'm saying is you don't have to do too much in order to get attention. All attention is not good attention, and if you're getting attention, you should want it to be respectful attention. You get what I'm saying? Like for me, I want respect and nothing but respect. Anything that's not respectful, I feel real disrespected, and I don't like that. And because I'm aware of that, there's a certain way that I know I have to carry myself in order to maintain a certain level of respect from people. And I just feel like when you carry yourself with a certain level of respect, you really don't encounter a lot of bad situations, or you don't really encounter a lot of situations that are unfavorable. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because how a person shows up and how a person treats you is not always a reflection of yourself. Sometimes it's just a reflection of their bad character. But I would definitely say, being that I carry myself with respect because I genuinely respect myself, I really don't encounter a lot of situations. Honestly, I don't really encounter situations where people are disrespecting me or showing up in a way where it's like, why do you even feel like you can move to me like that? But that's because of the way that I carry myself. And I just feel like with women, and this is men as well, like if you want to be respected, it starts with yourself first. Of course, I feel like humans, we should all have a base level of respect for each other, but the respect level that a person gives to you oftentimes is determined by how you're showing up. So listen, self-respect will literally open doors for so much respect being returned back to you in so many different ways. So y'all, don't ever turn down respect for attention. It's just not worth it. When people respect you as a person, the way that you show up, you will just find yourself in so many favorable situations that you don't have to worry about like being disrespected and all of that. So for all the women that's watching this, especially the young women, like you don't have to follow what you see influencers doing. And I'm talking about a specific group of influencers, you know, the ones that dress a certain way, that are usually into the fast life. You don't have to dress the way that you see them dressing because you think that's what makes you a it girl or that's what makes you a baddie. You can definitely be a baddie while still carrying yourself with a certain level of self-respect. You can still be confident and self-assured while presenting yourself in a respectable way, because at the end of the day, like I feel like that's really what you should aim for. You know, like still wear what you want to wear, but I just feel like you have to be mindful of what comes with that. You can definitely still give grown and sexy while also, you know, like not doing too much.
I literally like woke up and I'm just like, damn, I really need to like stop dressing like I'm a teenager. like like I'm having an epiphany or something. I know for a fact that my jeans are going to forever make me look young, but I don't want to dress like I'm a child anymore. Nobody talks about how you just one day is just like, damn, like I need to switch it up, because that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like my frontal lobe is like, honey, you're approaching 30. Why do you just have crop tops and ripped jeans and booty shorts? Why don't you have like cardigans, basic tees, slacks, skirts that are not booty skirts or the bubble skirts? You know what I'm saying? I think I'm having an epiphany. And so I've been following women who have the same body type as me because I need help. I need ideas. I need to figure out exactly where I'm going to get these clothes. Probably going to go to Zara, Shein, you know, regular places. But yeah, it's time to look better, to look more appropriate, to look more classy, to look more my age.
Sabrina Alba is a good example of a woman who covers up but still gives you sexy. Like Nicki Minaj said, I can be all the way covered and still giving sexy. I think a lot of women feel like either you dress matronly and covered up or you dress youthful and show skin. But Sabrina's 34 or 33 years old, I believe, and from what I've seen of her, I looked at her Instagram page, she has always had this kind of timeless look. So here's a picture of her from a few years ago. You can see her dress is past her knees. She has sleeves on, but her sleeves are sheer. Her dress is tight. It accentuates her waistline. Yes, she's covered up, but she's still giving sexy. And here she is in a knee-length dress and a trench coat, and she's still giving sexy because sexiness is not really in how you dress. It's more like an energy. Here she is with her arms exposed. Her dress is floor length, but she's still giving sexy and sultry and seductive. This dress, whether it's satin or silk, this type of fabric is just sexy. Here she is all the way covered up, but she has her back exposed. I think that is sexy when you're covered, but then you expose a body part, one body part. And here she is very elegantly dressed in a ball gown and gloves and just a little bit of skin exposed, and she's giving very much sexy. And I think she covers up because of her faith. I'm not exactly sure what her religion is or what she practices. I think that she has learned how to be sexy, be of the times, but still honor her faith and honor her desire to be a little bit more on the modest side. Here Sabrina is covered from her neck to her ankles, and she's still giving you sexy. I believe sexiness is not in the clothing that you wear, it's your confidence, and when you look good you feel good, and that's sexy.
So I feel like when it comes to Angel Reese, it's like going from one end where you're like the sportsy athletic girl to the other extreme of now you want to be really feminine, but it's the way that femininity is defined to her and she feels like she needs to embody that, but like on an extreme where it's like, all right, you know, you could dial it back a little bit. You don't have to do too much in order to showcase that you are in fact feminine from what people may perceive you to be. She's a very pretty girl and she does have some nice style. Like I've seen her in certain outfits where I'm like, I would wear that. And then of course there's certain outfits where I'll be like, you know, that's kind of a little too much, but to each his own. So anyways, that's just my perspective on this whole entire situation. Being that I can relate to being a tall girl who was into sports, and then as I transitioned into just my womanhood, I could have got sucked into that direction based off of what I thought was the way I needed to present myself based off of what I saw on social media, versus really understanding that like, okay, social media is one thing, but when you decide to embody something on social media that you think is what you're supposed to based off of what appears to be normal that you see as trendy, you then realize like, okay, like that's not really the image that I'm going for. Like, let's be honest, if you guys see a lot of your peers doing a specific thing and you notice that that's what's going on, until you know to have a mind of your own and say like, okay, this is not really for me, you think that's the route that you gotta take. So I'm gonna just end this video here, and if you can resonate with what I'm saying, especially being a girl who you started off in sports and then you transitioned into womanhood, like what was that experience like for you and how did you balance it out? So yeah, like I said, I can't really vouch for her 100% because I don't know her, but just based off of just what I'm observing, this is just the idea that I came up with. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you on another one.